Hello and welcome to a Stories by Dan tutorial. Today I'm going to be going over the basic movements in Unity as well as using the audio engine and audio parents. There are three primary modes of movement: grabber, move, and rotate. In grabber mode, when using the left mouse button, you'll be dragging the camera across the screen, and when using the right mouse button, you'll be able to freely move around. You can access this mode by pressing the Q key or the button. When in grabber mode, you won't be able to manipulate the game environment. In movement mode, which can be accessed by pressing the movement button or the W key, you will be able to manipulate physical objects and sources within the environment using either object arrows or by adjusting their coordinates. Note, however, the coordinates can be adjusted in any mode. And finally, rotation mode can be accessed by pressing the button or the E key. When in rotation mode, you are unable to move any assets without using the coordinate controls, but you're free to rotate any object you desire. There is, however, a way to navigate the scene without using grabber mode. By holding down mouse button free, typically the scroll wheel, you can drag yourself across the scene. Holding down your right click will enable the same free camera as grab mode. Additionally, you can use your scroll wheel to move in a forward and backward direction, depending on where you are facing. Now that we have the various move modes established, it's time to import some audio. To do this, I'm going to source from Soundly. All I have to do is run a quick search and have a listen. Once I've chosen my sound, I'm going to highlight it and drop it into Unity. Notice how there was only one waveform shown? That means it's in mono. Mono sounds are ideal, and if you can't import a mono sound, I'll show you how to deal with that later. The next thing we're going to do is create a new game object. In this instance, it's going to be an audio source. Simply right-click in the objects list, go to the audio submenu and select audio source. You should see it appear near you in the level. If not, feel free to reset the coordinates to 0, 0, 0 and move it from there. Once it's in place, we have to tweak a few settings as well as add the audio itself. First, we need to adjust the spatial parameter so it's entirely 3D as opposed to 2D. The reason we do this is because Unity is a multi-dimensional development platform, meaning it can be used to develop both 2D and 3D games, and is considered typical for 2D games to not have spatial sounds. Leaving it in 2D will cause the audio to play at full volume regardless of player position. The next parameter to adjust is the 3D sound settings. Before we go into that, however, let's brush up on how 3D audio works in Unity's engine. A typical audio source within a level will have two spheres around it. Whilst inside the smaller of the two spheres, the player will hear the sound at full volume. However, if the player solely resides within the larger of the two spheres, the volume will vary depending on their position. If they are closer to the outer edge, the sound will be lower in volume. If they are closer to the centre, however, the volume will be significantly louder until they reach the inner sphere. That's the basic idea at least. The calculation and level curve can be adjusted, but for this tutorial we will focus on the basics. Moving back to Unity itself, we need to adjust the values that dictate how large the spheres are. We can do this by increasing or decreasing the size of the sphere within the 3D space, manually dragging the values down, or type in new values. For the minimum distance sphere, I'm going to adjust by hand, and then I'll drag down the volume for the max distance before polishing off within the 3D space. I'll also be setting the volume roll off to linear. And finally, I'll drag the file from my assets browser to the clips section of the audio source, and I'll set it to loop. Now, let's load in and try it out.